So there I was, Lorenzo Varga, 38 years old, living in Bologna, Italy, and trying to make sense of my life. I had been working for a fishing company for almost 5 years, and I had always thought that if I stayed focused and worked hard, I would eventually rise through the ranks. I had a good job, a decent salary, and I was trying to make sure that my family back in Sicily would be proud of me. I was a bit of an overachiever, always eager to take on more tasks, and I had a reputation for being reliable and dedicated. I had even taken on extra responsibilities when the process engineer left, and I had been working 16-hour days, often coming in early and leaving late, sometimes staying overnight to finish up. I had a lot of respect for my coworkers, and even though I was working long hours and drinking Monster Energy drinks to keep going, I felt like I was on the right track. I had a best friend, a guy named Marco, who would often joke about how I needed to take a break, but I always laughed it off and said I was just doing what I had to do to make it in this world. Then, out of nowhere, everything changed. It was the first of the month, and I had just started back on a line teardown that needed to be done. I was wrenching away, getting things done, when I heard people being called into HR. At first, I thought maybe it was just a routine meeting, but then I saw one of the women from accounting being escorted out, crying, carrying a box of her stuff. I knew right then something was wrong. I walked over to my besties and asked what was going on, but they didn't know either. Then, as I was walking back to my cubicle, I saw my name being called. My heart dropped. I thought, well, so much for dedication. I walked into HR, and the manager, this guy I had always respected but had a weird way of treating people, told me I was being eliminated. I had no job, no insurance, and only 4 months of pay for almost 5 years of work. I was destroyed. I had never received a bad review or even a pip. I had always been doing the work, and I had even helped out other people when they needed it. But my manager had decided to pick me, and I was the one who got the axe. I was escorted back to my desk to pack up, and I cried the whole time. My packaging manager shouted at me, saying, "This is BS." But he didn't let me say anything to him. He just made his second in command walk me out. And the kicker, my birthday was the next day. I was so devastated, I couldn't even think straight. I had to take a day to grieve, and I ended up getting drunk with my best friends on my birthday. I was so lost, so broken, I didn't know what to do next. I had to start over, and I did. I took a job at a different company, and I loved it. It wasn't the same as before, but it was better. I was working with people I got along with, and I was finally able to take a break and not work 16-hour days all the time. I was happy, and I was starting to feel like myself again. But then one morning, about 6 months after I started my new job, the plant director called me into his office. His office was only about 15 feet from my cubicle, so we had gotten to know each other. He was a pretty cool guy, and I walked in with a smile and a "What's up?" He looked up and said, "I have a resume for the plant manager position. You used to work at that fishing place, didn't you?" I said I did. "Did you know or work with douchehead manager?" I said yes, he was my manager. He asked, "How was he to work for or with?" I smiled and said, "He was an okay person, but he was a really great bus driver, if you get what I mean." He laughed, picked up the paper, and showed it to me. It was Douchehead's resume, and he had been let go the same day I was. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. And then the best thing happened. The director took the paper, ripped it up, and threw it away. He said that was all he needed to know, and I walked out with my jaw dropped. Douchehead had been unemployed since that day, and unknowingly I had got my petty revenge. I had always wanted to make sure that the people who treated me unfairly would suffer, and I had done it. I felt a sense of closure, a sense of justice. I had lost everything, but I had also found something better. I had learned that even in the darkest moments, there is always a way to turn things around. And I had done it not just for myself, but for everyone who had ever been wronged. I was still in Bologna, still working, still trying to make a life for myself and my family, but now I felt like I had a purpose again. I had taken the pain and turned it into something that would help me move forward, and I had made sure that the person who had wronged me would never be able to take advantage of anyone else again. I had my revenge, and I had found peace.